Evaluation speech for Toastmasters. Sometimes, sometimes, sometimes. Sometimes it is easy to point out what was not effective without giving a suggestion. You may see some evaluators tend to just point out what was ineffective without explaining why and without how can we change it. Some evaluators fall into another trap on just focusing on praising. And in the praising, they keep repeating what the person has communicated to the audience to a point that there's too much recap without adding value. If we are going to recap somebody's speeches, we want to explain to the audience what is it something that we can learn from, why is it important, and how can we repeat that going forward. We need to be more selective in what we repeat. Sometimes evaluators focus too much on the showmanship. They come up with these ideas on showcasing their ability, the quick wit in their evaluation, and somehow compromise the quality of feedback that the speaker deserves. We need to be more speaker focused. Be focused on how can we help the other person to improve. Sometimes we are not listening attentively. We miss key elements. It can be the reason that the audio system is not working. It may be their articulation. It may be our ability to understand, or we are simply not paying enough attention to listen to what has happened. Remember, the person came to Toastmasters to improve their ability to communicate. If they're already very good, probably there's no need to be part of the meeting. So hence, we need to truly listen with a supportive heart, no matter how difficult it is, to stay focused, to understand or follow. We want to make an effort because as the evaluator, we want to give them the feedback that would help them to improve. Sometimes we are too comfortable with our default habit. We have our own preferences in organizing our evaluation speech. We have preferences of what to look for, and we have preferences in summarizing and what phrases to use to remind the judges or the audience that we are summarizing. Let's get uncomfortable. Let's try different things. Use different ways to evaluate because depending on the speaker, you may want to use a different tone, different structure, different style, different types of comments so that the person can truly benefit. Sometimes we don't have a plan in mind. That's why when we see the yellow card, which is the 2 minute 30, oh, I have used up so much time, then I still have the recommendation and also the conclusion, then we tend to rush and then not being able to deliver justice, not being able to give feedback that the person improve. We need to be more selective. We need to have a plan on how much time we want to spend on commenting, recommending, and summing up. And at the same time, we need to be selective. Remember, you always have the chance to speak to the speaker after your verbal feedback to give them the less important point or points that may take more time to explain. But we want to focus on the essence. When we give the verbal Toastmasters evaluation, it gives that impact, and the audience can learn from this. Sometimes we are too critical. We cannot see what the other person is doing well. At least for me personally, there was one day that I wasn't that good at speaking, and probably now still can improve. And depending on my state, I may not be doing a good job. And if we always have this critical lens and pointing out, why didn't you do that? Why didn't you raise higher? Why don't you raise the bar higher? It can be very discouraging. We want to make sure that we are supportive. We look for the positive in the person. We give this person a benefit of the doubt, and we give suggestion on you're currently performing in this level. We're helping you to raise the bar at your own pace. Sometimes we are too eager to help. We can comment on how they organize the content. We can recommend what content they can include, but we cannot recommend how they live their life unless it is tall tales. If it is an actual life story, whatever happened has happened. And in our evaluation, we cannot ask the person to change the plot of their story unless you hear different ways that they can organize the content or develop the character differently. We cannot invite them to change their story because it is an actual story, an incident that has happened. We can, however, give them suggestions on what are the things that you may wish to include and let them think what are the other chapters in their lives or what are the other things that happened before and after that incident that can possibly include in their future speeches. Toastmasters evaluation train us to give encouraging, constructive, and supportive feedback. It is a skill to develop. And even as skilled evaluator, we need to be careful and focus to be in the right state so that we can give that feedback. If we just say what's in our mind, while it is easy for us, the other person may not be able to follow. The other person may not agree with the content and may not be able to understand what do we mean until we elaborate on what's going on. Evaluation speech for Toastmasters. Sometimes, sometimes, sometimes.